Over the years, there have been many examples of serious fires within the heritage environment. If you think of Windsor Castle, York Minster, Cowgate in Edinburgh, and the Chiado building in Lisbon, Portugal, to name but a few. A major fire occurred in the medieval city of Trondheim in Norway on the 7th of December 2001. Like Chester, there were many wooden buildings in the central core. The fire started in a restaurant kitchen. There had also been indications of problems with the electrical installations in the restaurant. The restaurant had automatic fire detection, but the system was only linked to a receiving centre between the hours of 4 and 8 in the morning. There was also an automatic sprinkler system in the restaurant kitchen. Despite a quick response from the fire service, it took hours for the fire spread to be controlled. So what can we learn from Trondheim? Well, the fire service lacked knowledge of the properties and safe access to the rear yards. And it also had a poor overview of the fire safety of the buildings. The building authorities had not used adequate control measures to ensure that the reported lack of fire protection was improved. Available firefighters were not used effectively and lacked modern firefighting equipment. There was insufficient fire insulation in the lofts, and one of the sprinkler valves had been turned off in the building. So what improvements were made? Improved communications both internally within the fire service and externally between the service and the local authority were made. There was better consultation at the building and planning stage, and risk assessments were carried out by the local authorities. A project to design fire protection for the historic city centre and a survey of all properties was carried out. Shortly after Trondheim, Chester experienced a major fire in Bridge Street on the 26th of January 2002, which resulted in the loss of 2 Grade 2 listed buildings at a cost of over £3 million. It also caused major disruption to both the city's economy and the traffic flows. A passerby saw flames breaking through the roof of the 4-storey building in the early hours of the morning. The fire had smouldered unnoticed for some time. The prompt response from the fire service, coupled with the fact that the firefighters were able to fight the fire from the front and the back, prevented further fire damage and loss. Under different circumstances, the fire could have engulfed a large sector of the historic city centre. What can we learn from the 2002 Bridge Street fire? Well, there was late intervention due to a lack of a monitored system. That is, a passerby alerted the fire service. No sprinklers were fitted, but automatic fire detection had been installed and was operational. The fire was contained to 2 buildings due to the compartmentation and good access to the rear of the building. What were the outcomes? Chester City's Fire Board was established. All heritage buildings have been surveyed and audited. Recommendations were given to owners and occupiers, coupled with enforcement action. Funding was provided by the local authority to provide a fully integrated detection and alarm system in premises on the rows. More recently, this year in fact, there's been a further fire in a timber frame building on Bridge Street in Chester, caused by a fault in the electrics cupboard. Compared to the 2002 fire, damage was slight. Automatic fire detection and the CCTV monitoring system resulted in an early emergency response. Thus, the fire damage was confined to the shop front area and caused minimum disruption to the city. The rear of the open plan shop was only slightly smoke damaged. Improvements in fire safety measures in and around Chester's built heritage include a heat loop at every row level on Bridge Street, Watergate Street, Eastgate Street and Northgate Street, fire system cabinets linking fire alarm systems in individual premises and the external heat loop to a central receiving centre, 24-hour CCTV coverage of the area controlled by the Town Hall, and Cheshire Fire Rescue Service's rolling audit programme for all listed buildings within the city centre. In addition to fire protection measures, managers of heritage buildings will be well advised to develop a salvage plan which identifies those items requiring priority during any salvage operations, their locations with members of staff forming a salvage team should a fire or other disaster occur. In order to develop workable salvage plans, consultation with the local fire service should take place in order to establish appropriate emergency measures. Fire safety solutions within built heritage necessitate striking a fine balance, providing adequate safety measures whilst maintaining the building's heritage value. This is without doubt a difficult process. Regulators, approving authorities, developers and architects need to better understand each other's requirements and work together to preserve our historic buildings for the enjoyment of future generations.